Hey, what's up, everybody? Evan Freiberger here with your weather forecast, and today we're going to be going over the next 3 days of the forecast, including some flooding risks in California, lots of snow coming for the Sierra Mountains, some snow coming from the northern plains, and also a maybe pretty dangerous situation in terms of flooding in Arkansas, the Arklatex region. So that is what we're going to be going over today. So let's get right to it. All right, so this is the current conditions here across the United States. As you can see, there's a little bit of rain happening here near Oklahoma, maybe a little bit of freezing precip starting to fall on the front side of that. Also, a little bit of snow coming over here for North and South Dakota, making its way into Minnesota there. And we're starting to see the beginnings here of some of that precip starting to make its way into California, but this isn't really the round that I'm particularly concerned about over here for the West Coast. And also we have a little bit of precip happening over here in the Northeast. So let's go over to the models next. First, we're going to be checking out the NAM 12K. So give us a good little look into the future here to tell us what we can expect with some of these storms coming into the future. Now, as you can see, it's going off in the future. You can see, look at that. Big old rain blob moving into the California area at around 12 p.m. on March the 9th. Now, we come over here, you can see this is definitely one of those Pineapple Expresses making its way into California. Going to cause a lot of potential for some flooding issues. Also, a continuation of the snowpack building there. I think you guys already have in some areas on the Sierras up to 20 feet of snow there. Now, coming back over to here, you can see there's a big snowmaker happening in the northern plains. Let's bring this back and then back forward. And you can see little low pressure, sneaky low pressure system is going to be causing some snow for South Dakota, North Dakota, southern Minnesota, mainly for the most Minnesota, but the heaviest stuff is going to be happening in southern Minnesota into Iowa and also into Wisconsin there. And that's going to continue off to the east and then eventually impact the Northeast. It's a little bit too early to tell what's going to be happening specifically with this storm, so we're not going to go too much into detail over here for the Northeast and the Ohio Valley just yet. One thing I do want to mention about this rain over here is that the long-term models are indicating multiple rounds of this. I still think it's a little bit too early to sound the alarms, as models can change. But if we do continue to get, a rainstorm after rainstorm with this pattern, could potentially see a repeat of what happened a couple weeks ago there in California. The next thing we're going to look at is the temperatures across the United States. And as you can see, pretty cold for most people, except if you live in, Arizona, Southern California, into New Mexico, into the Southern Plains in the Southeast, still hanging on to that warmth. But as I move this forward, you can see that warmth kind of builds up and then starting to lose its grip here in the Southern Plains and the Southeast as this cold air slowly creeps its way down into the Southern United States. But for the most part, over the next few days, it kind of hangs on. So, expect if you live in the northern parts of these states to potentially get down into the upper 40s, mid 50s, but we're not expecting a big cool down for the Southeast, at least within the next 3.5 days there. All right, so do we have any severe weather coming up? Let's go look at the jet stream here. As you can see, we have this really elongated jet stream, which is going to be bringing in that moisture to the west there. This is the upper levels here. And, we do have a little perturbation right there. Which will eventually try to cause maybe some spotty showers, thunderstorms, potential for some severe weather over here near the south. Let's go look at the 850 millibars. Yeah, there's a little bit there. Not maxed out or anything, but there's just no moisture to this storm. So we're not really expecting a tornado threat over the next few days. The only little spot here where we do see a little bit of elevated moisture, the shear values are not really there either for that event. So, we're expecting maybe some isolated areas of hail chances over here for Oklahoma and Texas over the next couple days, but that's just about it. No tornado risk for any of these storms right now. Let's go over to the severe weather thing here. Bring this out. All right, so if we go over to the hail risk here, you can see there is a 5% for just south of Oklahoma City, Altus, Vernon, Wichita Falls, McKinley, Dallas, Abilene, Big Spring, and Midland. That's today. And then tomorrow in the same area, pretty much, we have another small chance for hail there. If we go over to the wind, there's a little small chance here, right around where we see this little surge of moisture coming up into Texas and Oklahoma today. Later on today, I could potentially see some damaging winds And again, no tornado risk there. And going over to the next day, no tornado risk and also no wind risk. So only that hail risk exists for tomorrow. Bring this on forward. You can see, yeah, there's the first potential storms to pop up there right around the overnight hours. Again, going into Monday. And then the next day, you can see we have some more pop-up storms. But again, we're not expecting any widespread severe weather event, just a small risk for damaging winds and hail there. So do be weather aware, but it's nothing to really be freaked out about. You know, if you see big clouds with thunder and lightning, go indoors. And if you're under a severe thunderstorm warning, make sure that you are indoors and away from windows with some of these storms. Now for the last thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here to the National Forecast database and look at what we can expect for some of these storms in terms of snowfall. As you can see over here in the west, we're going to be getting some snowfall along the mountains, and that's pretty much it. But the main snowfall event here over the next 3 days is going to be this little snowstorm up here, and that's going to be dropping anywhere from 4 to 5 up to 9 inches in some parts there in South Dakota. Kind of the same story for North Dakota, with those smaller snow amounts being in the north and western part of North Dakota. Going into Minnesota, kind of the same story. As North Dakota, 4 to 5 inches, tapering off as you get closer to the Canadian border there near one of the Great Lakes. And then as you further you go south, the more snow you can see, potentially up to 10 inches there just to the south of St. Paul. Going into Iowa, also potential for 10 inches there on the northern part. And the further south you go, the less snow you will see. And then also going into Wisconsin here, we have a potential for 7 to 8 inches. And the further you go east, that starts to taper off into 4 or 5 inches and then 3 to 2 inches. But most of the state of Wisconsin is going to be getting some snow. And then Michigan is also going to get into the snow fun here, just mainly on the western side of Michigan because of that lake effect snow. And then as we go off into the northeast, we really don't have a clear picture of what's going to happen here just yet, but you can be sure that some of these mountains will see and continue to see some snow going into the future. All right, last thing that I want to touch on is going to be the hydrological outlook and the total precipitation amounts that we can expect for California and parts of the Arctic regions here. So if I go over to the hydrological outlook here, go to day 1. As you can see, we do have a little slight risk here for Tulsa, Oklahoma, Fayetteville, Fort Smith, Oklahoma City. So make sure you are aware just in case there is a flood warning near you. You need to have a plan to seek higher ground there. And then also going over to the day 2, we have a moderate risk for Fort Smith, Russellville, Hot Springs Village, McAllister, and Stigler. And then going over to day 3, we have another moderate risk here for Little Rock, Fort Smith, Russellville, Hot Springs, Conway, Stigler. So if you live in any of these cities that I just called out, make sure you definitely have a plan to seek higher ground, especially if you live in a low-lying area near a creek or really just in a low-lying area at all. Could potentially see some of those excessive rainfall amounts. And then also zooming out, coming over here to California, we go over to the day 2, nothing to really worry about. So these first rounds of little spotty showers are not going to really be a big deal today going into tomorrow, but going into day 3, we start to see that risk uptick here near San Francisco, San Jose, Sacramento, and Fresno. And now let's go over to the NAM, and I want to show you the rain totals here. Pushing this all the way through, you can see into the 9th here, potentially in some isolated spots, up to 6 to 7 inches, potentially over here in Arkansas. We could see some spots of up to a foot of rain. So especially if you live near the Little Rock area, if you start seeing heavy rain happening all day and then you get a flash flood warning and you're one of those low-lying areas, you definitely need to be weather aware going into tomorrow and the next day. So that is it for me. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the forecast. And as of right now, there's really nothing to go live for on the channel. So I'm just going to give like little video updates whenever anything significant comes through that you need to know about. All right, you take it easy.